observed within a little bit of research and not really incentivized myself to share them due to, well, a few factors, but I feel like they need to be shared at this point. I hope that everybody remembers that COVID-19, the lockdowns and what happened, because it was, from memory and from actual fact, reality, it was a pretty savage time for at least this country in Australia. Okay, now I observed something very interesting at the start of this year that occurred within federal legislation, and they launched something called the Australian Centre for Disease Control on the 1st of January 2026. Now, I was looking into what they do, you know, what's the objective of the Australian Centre of Disease Control, you know? What are they all about? And something really caught my eye about these guys. Like, I just found it very intriguing. So, I thought I would share. Okay, let me just look them up again. Get onto the website. So, the Australian Centre of Disease Control has put its tagline on the website for protecting Australia from public health threats through disease surveillance, expert analysis, and trusted information. Alright. Okay, that's what they officially say. Now, back in the COVID lockdown, we did not have an Australian Centre of Disease Control. We took emergency health lockdown orders and it just happened, but we had very strange rules that were forced upon the public, especially here in Sydney. Well, let me just cite from memory the 2021 lockdown rules. We had to socially distance 3 meters. We were forced to wear masks in public, although I did not comply, and I was very much persecuted by people, abused, bullied, harassed for that. But I refused to wear a mask because I cannot wear a mask. It makes me have my reasoning is PTSD. Like, I actually cannot breathe, so my PTSD is worsened. So that's my reasoning. True. So there was social distancing, forced mask wearing, and it was just a piece of cloth. It doesn't even protect against pathogens, so it's a lie. Okay, so we were forced to have one scheduled person in the home for visiting. So what happens to the old people that get lonely, you know? There were no essential services. We could only go to the supermarket, the chemist. I believe the bottle shop was open, and what is really stunning to me is that preschools were allowed to stay open, and we all know that preschools are supposed to harbor a lot of pathogens because children at that age are very sensitive to, you know, communicable diseases, allegedly. Why did they keep the daycares and preschools open? It never made any sense to me. There were zones. We had zones. At one point in Sydney, they zoned off little areas and made people stay in their zones. You could not leave the zone. You could not go to the beach in Sydney. A man was crash tackled by the police in, I believe it was Bondi Beach. I may be wrong, but he was crash tackled. Okay. And then we had the rollout of the vaccination plot, which has now come to the forefront of what that does. But it was only bribed, forced, and pushed upon people, right? People were forced to take the COVID-19 vaccination to go back to work, to gain access to the gym, to have essential services like a haircut. I mean, even some businesses, I went to join a gym a few weeks ago and they still had up on their entry signs and their website, you must have a COVID-19 vaccine certificate in order to use this facility. It's 2026. This was all 6 4 years ago. What is this? Like, come on. So you were forced to have this to even have a job. I was living with someone who had to have the vaccination twice in order to maintain employment. Okay, think about this for a second. This is coercion, psychological coercion, biological warfare. The side effects, we did not know. This was not a normal vaccine in which they had a trial period of 10 years to understand what this is doing to the body. They rolled this out without testing it and forced it upon the people. And now they want to inject birds with a vaccine vector without their explicit consent. Not on my watch. No. Birds are not able to give consent. These are animals, this is animals. I love animals so much. Yeah, this is why I'm prompted to make this video. Same with children, you know. I don't agree with children having the COVID vaccine. I'm not saying this about every vaccine. I mean, I will not speak about this. I don't necessarily think that this needs to cross over into vaccines that we have anecdotal proof of. It doesn't need to go there. I'm speaking about this COVID-19. These novel pandemics. Okay. I truly believe animals and children cannot give explicit consent to have an experimental vector placed within their bodies. Okay. So, may this be conspiratorial thinking? May it not. The Japanese encephalitis